Hello and welcome to 2025. And yes, it is now January the 6th, so we're a little bit into the new year. So, what am I going to be reading, working on, and what's coming up with the channel? First, let's start with the projects. And yes, I do have my little cheat cards below me. I also, and I need to get it updated, have my book events calendar, so I'll need to add all of the information in there. I'll be redoing that calendar. But the projects. First off, I will be reading the Da Vinci Code yet again. I think this will be my third read through to get that project underway. I've read about 50 plus books on this spiral and search for information, which is good because pretty much all of those books are from my personal library. Some, like The Earth Chronicles by Zachariah Sitchin, have been waiting for over a decade. But this is the year that I really want to start crunching the information together, figuring out timelines, all of that type of thing. So that's one of the big honking projects that I have on the go. Another thing is to start working through a number of the programs that I have, and I have a number of self-help books in my library. Some of them are simply reading, and others are actually working through information. So a couple that I'm going to start with. First is Positive Energy by Judith Orloff. This is a 10-week program, 10 extraordinary prescriptions for transforming fatigue, stress, and fear into vibrance, strength, and love. I figured this would be a good year to focus on positive vibrations and energy. Yes, Noah, I do own sticky tabs and use them. They mark each of the weeks and the exercises and the reads. I love that if you don't end up finishing the information in a week, or maybe there's something that comes up you want to delve into further, then you just keep working on that and continue on. I also have a journal set aside to keep track of that. And thanks to Janie and Bobby, I'll be doing some fun things in here and figuring out how I want to record my information. The other program that I will be starting this month as well is The Artist's Way. This is by Julia Cameron, A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity. Her program is set up in 12 weeks because Julia speaks quite openly about her own challenges with alcohol and how that impacted on her. Anyone familiar with AA knows there are 12 steps, and in Julia's programs there are 12 weeks. On the back, it mentions her other programs, Finding Water, Walking in This World. I know they're also 12-week programs because I have a special collection that includes The Artist's Way and both of those programs as well, along with the text, and that's the readings, activities for every week. You also set up a commitment to yourself to follow through with it. I also have a workbook, and this goes through each of the tasks for the weeks that you're working through. So this will absolutely have writing and a number of things included in it. This will be my third time going through The Artist's Way. Each time I have found it to be of immense benefit. I always learn a bit more about myself, different things I'm interested in. And one of the activities that I did years ago when I did this was set up a chart of all the things I'm interested in that I want to follow through on. So, no, see, I did this February 2023. So I need to go through and see where I'm at with that whole process because I'm always busy into something. In February, I will be starting Study Bible, the New Student Bible. This is a revised edition, but the copyright is 1990, so there may even be a more up-to-date version. I have a journal specially set aside for this one as well. And again, I'll be embellishing and figuring out different things to put in there. Along with that project, I'll be taking a deep dive into green witchcraft. This is by Maura, and it's based on the classes that she had taught. I will be doing that in combination with A Witch Alone. This is by Marion Green. I've also done this program twice. I don't have a name anymore for what I do or how I live. I move through my life. I'm connected to nature, but there's no name for my path. But I want to delve very much into both of these again, because in Marion Green's, it's about learning where you live in terms of the history of your land, what was there before your house, and everything else around you. It's about looking at fairy tales from a different perspective. There's just so many amazing exercises during this 13-month process. So I won't be finishing it this year, but there's just a lot of great exercises and reading that connect you to your perspective, the world you live in, how you choose to move through it, and how you connect with other people. So I'll tie that in with the manual by Maura because there's some crossover divination and other concepts, so I'll do those together. I still need to come up with a journal, an idea of where I'm going to record everything, but that's starting next month, so I have a bit of playtime there. And I will definitely be reading Drawing Down the Moon. I mentioned this book in my Beefcake Tag video. This will be a reread. It's by Margot Adler, and it goes through witches, druids, goddess worshippers, and other pagans in America. So although I'll be working through this program, I'll be looking at all different kinds of pagan spirituality. And of course, as I said, delving into the Bible, I figured looking at those two perspectives throughout. Well, the Bible study will take me at least 2.5, possibly 3 years, because there are set readings each day. So if I do it the way it's laid out, it's a 3-year process. If some days I find maybe I want to read 2 or 3 sections, then it will go a little bit quicker. It's just going to depend on how my reading and all that works out. Then in March, because I need to keep busy, I'll be starting a course in miracles. Yes, this is another big book, but no, it wasn't on my beefcake list. I had plenty as it was. A Course in Miracles will be another year-long process because, again, there are certain activities to do every day. This first part of the book is the text. The next part is student studies. So I have plenty to keep me out of mischief over the course of this year, and I'll have to see how that all works out. How am I going to keep track of all of this? Of course, I have a journal for that. And yes, I do have a glow-in-the-dark sticker as well. So this is one of the ARC journals. I picked this up at Staples years ago. I love it. It has a nice hardcover. I have my dividers all set up, my pages set up, and this is where I'll write what I'm planning to do in terms of each of my different studies. So we'll see. Hopefully that helps keep me on track. Reading plans for 2025. I have this amazing notebook that I've been keeping track of all that I've been reading. I find it very helpful because as great as Goodreads is for tracking certain things, at a glance, it's really hard to see what you've read per month. And they have a great chart, but you have to hover over it to see all the titles. So this way, I just have my basic old school. I have my page divided because I'm pretty sure I won't be reading more than that much in a month, especially with some of the different projects and things I have on the go. But at a glance, I can quickly see what I read that month. I just write the title, my start date, and my finish date. I've seen some beautiful reading journals out there and the different things people have done to embellish them and keep track. And as beautiful as they are, this is a basic system that works for me. The Wheel of Time is one of the big, for me, rereads this year. It's also a reread for Ven. He had mentioned a few times wanting to read the series again, but it's just so large. This is 3 of the 15 books in that series. So I mentioned to him, do you want to do it as a buddy read? The buddy read became a group read, so we're now joined by Dee Dee, Virtue of Books, Laura, the Book Hermit, Noah, the Bookworm, and I know there are some other people in their Discord group. There's also a group on Voxer. I was going to go with a Google chat group, but I think just having 2 spots to chat is a good idea. In March, I will be reading the Vampire Chronicle series in order with my buddy Kat from Ginger Bibliophile. Interview with the Vampire, I've read several times. I actually read Interview when it first came out. Must have been right after Salem's Lot, Stephen King. I'm looking forward to reading this entire series. Some of the books I had read before, but I've just started getting into reading the later books. I still need to read Memnoch, which I picked up a while ago, Blood and Gold. But I recently just picked up Blood Communion from the library. It was a great read. I finished it in 2 days. I'll remember the book, but I don't count on the library having a book that I want to read down the road anymore. Their books are just disappearing, sadly, far too quickly. And so I've read all of it. It was a great read. And I'll read it again when we get to that, when Kat and I figure out whether we're doing a book a month or how we're going to proceed with that. Another big chunker, and this was also in my Beefcake video, is Dune. This is by Frank Herbert. This I'm hoping to start in April, possibly as a buddy read. It may end up turning into a group read, as a few other people have expressed an interest in reading this. Yes, it's another chunker. Didn't really pick any lightweights this year. And a number of us have been wanting to read, or like me, reread this. I haven't read this since I was teen, maybe early 20s, I think. So I'm looking forward to reading it again. It just kept getting put off and put off last year. So I figure as a buddy read, I'm more likely to set that date and get started. That is just a bit of what I'm going to be reading and doing in 2025. And yes, I am on purpose scheduling myself really heavy on things because I figure this year more than any other, I am definitely going to need to keep my little self occupied. Now we're up to the different book events. In January or possibly February, I'll be reading The Chrysalids by Wyndham. I sadly don't have a copy of The Day of the Triffids. It's definitely on my wish list because it is my favorite Wyndham. That's part of an event created by Gareth for Winter Wyndham. So I need to pull the Chrysalids out for that. I've already mentioned the Wheel of Time that I'm doing with Ben and a number of others. This year I'd also like to participate in Historathon, an event created by Vin at Revenant Reads. It's divided into quarters and the different time periods. I figure that'll tie in beautifully with the Da Vinci Code, which certainly covers a whole variety of historical periods, and the majority of books that I've read on that spiral are nonfiction and history. In March, I'll be doing March Mystery Madness. I think that event will be running again, and I have 2 Kathy Reichs books waiting that I picked up in some of my recent hauls. May will be Horror Mayhem. I believe it is running again. That was created by the Bookish Bryants. Unfortunately, we lost Scott last year, but I do believe that event will continue to run. And if you've seen some of my bookcase videos or organizing, I have no shortage of horror books for that event. June, July, and August are Book Trek, another event created by Vin at Revenant Reads. Last year when this event started and I heard about it, I had 1 Star Trek magazine. I have since, if you've been watching some of my book hauls, definitely bumped up my possibility of reads. I lucked into finding the 10 series by Alan Dean Foster of the Star Trek logbooks, which are his rewriting based on the scripts from the animated series. So very much looking forward to that. In July, there's Don't Die July. That's created by Ven at Ven's Corner and Noah the Bookworm. Again, no shortage of horror to keep me going for different events. I will again, through August and September, be focusing on UFOs and different conspiracy theory type things. That's one of the reading themes that I'll be sticking with. The other ones may have to get juggled around a bit. October, November, I'll be continuing with my personal theme of ghosts, vampires, cryptids, and the paranormal. So there'll be a lot more content about that in that period, as well as participating in Spooky Scary Skeleton Halloween. That was created by Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook. And that brings us to December, which is the start of Winter Wyndham by Gareth. So I'm hoping by then I have Day of the Triffids and I can read it during that month. Ghosts of Christmas Past, Resurrecting a Tradition, will also be running for the second year. That also is an event created by Vin at Revenant Reads. Many thanks to Vin for so many amazing events that I'm looking forward to participating in. And the one that I need to mention that starts also in January, and that's a book club run by Gareth. There's 1 book every 2 months. It's nice because you don't necessarily have to read the book that Gareth is reading. It can be related to the subject. And I will put the name of the video down below in the description box. So head on over to Gareth's channel to watch his description if you're interested in participating in that. Like I say, I need to redo my chart, but I think I've covered all the events that I'm looking at. And yes, busy little reader. In terms of videos that are coming up soon, I'll be doing my journal so far, part 2. I did get my weekly planner done, but I'll share more about that in an upcoming video. I just need to find the clip where Tiki actually helped me put the pages in place. Or more accurately, Tiki's idea of helping me put the pages in place. I'll also be doing a deep dive on The Five. I've mentioned that book numerous times. It's by Haley Rubenhold, and I'm very much looking forward to putting that video together. I just need to get my notes all completed before I do that. The Book Murderer Part 2 is coming up, and yes, Noah, I will be using scissors and a blade, so I'm upping the game from markers and highlighters and writing in my books to actually taking them apart. And yes, the Da Vinci Code is not going to look like this much longer after I've read through this particular copy. I just haven't decided yet whether I'm going to take all the pages out, but I've been seeing some really cool videos of where people repurpose books and turn them into journals. I just need to figure out how many of the pages need to come out and then the embellishing and things. So this may actually, should see on my cover here, perfect. Black, easy to decorate on that. So this may end up becoming a Da Vinci Code journal. And before you panic, Noah, I have a special illustrated copy, so that's part of why I'm okay with chopping that one up. I'll also be doing a Wheel of Time update, so letting people know kind of what's going on with that. Other things coming up, I'm looking at Mondays becoming ghost story days. I've shown the big honker of a ghost book by Hans Holzer that I have. You can see that in my beefcake tag video as well. And I think what I'm going to do, because some of the stories are quite long, is instead of reading from his book, I'm just going to condense that information. But I'll also be pulling from books that I have by Barbara Smith, John Robert Colombo, Joanne Christensen, and so many other authors. So I think it'll be kind of fun to do Spooky Mondays. Thursdays, of course, my live streams will be continuing. The times will be changing either between 3 p.m. Eastern Standard or 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, depending on my guests and their availability. Also being careful to try to not schedule when Is This Thing On, hosted by Gareth at Book Songs and Other Magic and Dave and Olive at Book Blather. Fridays will continue to be Fairy Tale Friday, where I read from my Grimm storybook that I've had since childhood. Sunday is the day that I'm going to continue with the cat videos, and what I may do is some Sundays will be some nature clips or maybe yard updates. That pretty much covers everything I have planned, will be working on in 2025, as well as continuing with getting my bookcases and other things figured out. I've, since my last video, made a couple changes to my room, so I now have that huge table to get all cleared off, but that's going to be my workspace. I don't know if this is going to be staying here. I have my handy dandy cart next to me because if you've seen some of the videos with Tiki, I have to watch where I keep my pens and things because she's literally a little thief and will make off with things. I currently have Zena's chair right here below me, but she's sleeping on the bed today because I have the window open and it's a titch chilly. And then I still need to get my bookcases completely organized. I have a few things going on in the living room where I'll be setting up my beefcake books. I'll be setting up the 20 books that I carried over from 2023 and 2024. Actually, I didn't do too bad. There are 3 books that came over from 2023 and 17 from 2024. So hopefully I get those caught up. I've got my planners. I've got everything I need. I just need to make sure I use my planners, check my planners, and keep myself on track and not get bogged down in too many other things. Anyhow, let me know. Have you heard of any of the books I've mentioned? Are you curious about any of the projects that I'm getting into? Do you have any big projects planned for 2025? Until next time, happy reading and take good care.